If I was to give away all my secrets, as they say, and summarize my entire workflow in a single image, it would be this one. All that I'm doing is making sure that I don't do what's on the left and do what's on the right. Plain and simple. And that is exactly what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to show you exactly how I build all of my applications and how big of a difference it is when you start by being deliberate at building and knowing what you're doing versus trying to figure it out or expecting AI to read your mind and figure it out for you, right? We've talked about how you find ideas. We talked about how you should clarify your intent. I gave you many different choices to start, but I haven't given you good enough of an insight of how to finish your builds. Go all the way up, switch over to resources, don't look at the transcript anymore, open the Builder Companion app. And this is where we're going to spend our entire day today, pretty much. I'm going to show you why I'm building the way I'm building and how I'm building it. And then in the second part, which comes tomorrow, I will show you how to maintain that same structure that you properly set up the day before so that you can build projects of any size in Lovable, right? Before we begin, I want to demystify something about vibe coding from my point of view. Vibe coding is not about writing code or using AI to write code. It's about solving for constraints today, right? And today, as I record this video, there are two of them that I'm trying to solve every time I start a new build. There's the AI memory problem and there's the human memory problem. And this is what I mean by both of those. In the first case, AI has a limited context window. It only knows what you give to it, and then based on your request, it has a finite amount of tokens to execute your request. Those tokens are not just used for writing the code. They're used for reading, thinking, browsing the web, generating an image, whatever, right? Triggering a browser in case of Lovable, which is a new great feature it possesses. But what you need to remember is that that window is very small and finite, and that your job is really to define how do you want the agent to use it and help it use the least amount of that token allocation on the thinking, reading, browsing part, and the most of it on the building part, because that's how your app gets built, right? It's also not dynamic. So we're going to talk about how you dynamically shift the agent's attention where you want it to be, right? Then there's the human problem, right? If you try to do what I just said by simply prompting, after 10 hours of working on a project in a day, I almost guarantee you won't be capable of doing that at a level of consistency that is required, in my opinion, to reach the quality of the project that you want to. So we're going to solve for that problem today as well. You don't have to know how to solve this right now. You just have to be aware of it. Be aware that there's a problem with AI and there's a problem with you, right? I'm ready to begin and go to step 2, which we've done in the past. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this one. It's the same problem statement we've been always talking about, and being deliberate and being aware of all the constraints and what you want to build. Today, we're going to focus our attention a little bit differently than usual. Most of our projects were like private builds, solo builds for you and no one else, right? Today, we're going to be building for our team. Most of you are employed, most of you have jobs, and then on those jobs, you and your team members are facing constant daily challenges. So we're going to build a couple of projects actually, because I want to show you 2 different approaches and then you decide what works best for you. So I'm going to open Lovable once, and then I'm going to open it once again. 2 parallel builds, also something that I like to do quite often, building in parallel, right? And I'm going to focus today, because I'm lazy, I don't want to define a problem statement from scratch. I'm just going to take this sales example, for example, and I'm going to build app for sales. And then I'm going to, let's take HR, right? I'm going to take that one. And then again, same thing. I'm just going to paste the prompts. We've done this before. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. All you have to remember is that we've chosen 2 different projects. I'm going to choose 2 different paths for them, right? Problems defined. Let's go to the next step. And this is the critical one, which is, this is where we start solving for the first part of the problem, right? Which is the AI memory problem. If I was hoping and relying on the agent to remember 50 messages in what I've sent in my first one, I would be completely delusional that that is possible. Again, token memory is finite. You have to perpetually maintain it. The way to do that is fairly simple. All you need to do is document your build properly. The best and easiest way from my point of view to do it is by creating a set of PRDs, product requirement documents, which break down your build into sets of features and pages and elements, that it needs in order to be able to work, right? To build PRDs together alongside me, you can do it in 2 ways. You can use the prompt below, right? So let's do this. we'll paste in the onboarding portal, the HR app, and we're going to build it through the Builder Companion. And in another case, for the sales funnel, we're going to talk with Lovable directly and have Lovable help us build it instead, right? So the PRDs themselves are a kind of a maybe vague concept for you, but again, they're just breaking down your builds into its constituents, into its base elements. And when I first started building with Lovable, I would usually build these four, right? I would create a master plan, which gives the agent insights into what we're building, a 10,000 foot overview of everything. It's basically the vision and the core purpose, just to reestablish everything the way we want it to be. Once we do that, we need to provide the agent with instructions on which order it should build the application in, right? Break down the technical architecture, define the database, list all the core features and the ordering, right? I put a lot of emphasis today on how I want things to look and feel. So we need to establish a visual style and design principles using the brand and UX guidelines document defined by this design MD. And by the way, the MD part is just Markdown. It's just a file format, nothing really that you need to be stressing about. You're going to see me build, so you're going to see how I'm controlling that and using these files. Then the final file is just the user journeys, really mapping out how we want users to flow through the app. So when I click to generate my PRDs, what we're going to do is we're going to use this app build input, right? My base prompt plus this PRD generation prompt to create these 4 documents. And then I'm going to show you what to do with them, right? Or alternatively, you can create them in Lovable, right? The way to create them in Lovable is by copying this prompt. As we said, we're going to do this one for the sales, and you can see the app is already generated, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in, but instead of saying to Lovable that I want these 4 documents, let's see how many Lovable things we should have, right? I'm just going to give it this first part of the prompt to say that based on what it knows about the project, it needs to create a comprehensive set of PRDs that will serve as a persistent documentation throughout development, right? So I'm just going to send that away and let Lovable cook there while we are waiting for our PRDs to be generated. Okay, they've been generated successfully. Awesome. You can just click on this button right here and unlock the next step. And now we're just going to download. And before we do, again, you can just scroll through and just check these out and see that indeed there's an implementation plan, which is phased. We have design guidelines, which are very detailed. Again, this is where we're solving for both problems. Yeah, me as a human, as a non-designer, I don't know how to define these. So I'm using AI to help me with this, right? I'm going to click, I'm going to download basically the app flow, design. So download all 4, implementation plan, right? And then the master plan as well. I've downloaded all 4 PRDs, right? And now my next step is to build a central source of truth, right? The reason why PRDs alone are not enough is, okay, you created these docs, so what, right? What are we going to do with them? If you just upload them into Lovable, it's just going to ignore it completely. Like, why would it do anything with it? It's just stale files sitting in the code base. So if we go back to our onboarding project where we started the process but never uploaded the PRDs, I'm just going to click on the attach button right here. Then all you got to do is just find your docs wherever they are and click to open. And then in this next step, copy the following prompt, right? Again, this is probably the most critical part, simply because of 2 things. Number 1, we're putting these files to use. We're saying to Lovable what to do with these files, right? And what are they about? We're asking Lovable to start participating with us, to give us objections and suggestions on how to actually utilize them to their best extent. Ask clarifying questions, which I like to do because this is a brainstorming and collaborative session. I'm not here to boss the tool around. I'm here to work alongside it as my technical co-founder. And then the most important part, if we're on the same page, I'm really trying to create a centralized source of truth that sits on top of all of these files. So based on the base prompt, we build the PRDs and break our build down and then create another layer, the final layer of all the elements of our build broken down into tasks and subtasks. So I'm just going to copy this prompt and then go in here and paste this right in, right? So in this case, you can instruct Lovable to upload your documents into a folder or whatever, it really doesn't matter. All we want at this point is to help it assume a role of a technical co-founder for us. Let's see what Lovable did in the other project. it built 7 PRDs and put it inside the docs folder, right? So one for the overview, one for the pipeline management, one for activity tracking, dashboard analytics, roles, data model, and a future roadmap. I mean, amazing. Again, if you want to see these files, if you're like, okay, well, where are these files? All you'd have to do is just like open them up either here or go into the code mode. We've done this, so no need to be worried. We're not going to write any code. We're just going to read them right here. Right? You can see them. You can edit them if you don't like them. This is the critical point, right? Where you can ask, you can let Lovable do whatever it wants to, or you can just correct its course, right? As you can see, it's giving a full permission matrix. Again, something that I would probably not be able to configure on my own or remember that I should. And again, it's just giving me the future roadmap file already. And a README file, which again, suggests which file is responsible for what. Personally, I'd recommend you to use Lovable to write these PRDs because it's doing a better job than I do. So what's important right now is that we want Lovable still to create a centralized source of truth for this build as well. And then the next step after that is just understanding that even when you have the docs and even when you have the tasks, how do you make the agent always read them? And how do you make Lovable always remember their importance? And that is where project knowledge comes in. If you recall, in one of the early days, I've mentioned it and I said, we'll come back to it. It's very important. This is that day. This is the critical step that you need to take, right? I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to go back up and I'm going to show you and walk you through it really simply. What I'm going to do is this. Click on your project name, go to your settings, go to knowledge, and then enter these instructions. I'm going to explain them piece by piece because they're very important. The first sentence says, before you begin any responses, say I'm using knowledge. Now we can change this to say 28 days of Lovable. Whenever I read 28 days of Lovable as the first response from the agent, I will know that it read everything else. So that's my indication. You can say your name or X is awesome, whatever. As you can see, my instructions from there are pretty clear. I wanted to always read all the project documentation, but use the master plan and tasks as the source of truth, right? And every time it completes a task, mark them as done inside that tasks file and tell me what was completed, how to test it, and what's the next step, right? Very simple, yet very powerful. I'm not trying to dump everything that I want the agent to know inside here. There's no point in doing that. All of that other intelligence is in the docs. All the agent needs to understand is, okay, this person just wants me to read them and execute on them, right? That's how I dynamically shift its memory and I dynamically shift its attention where I want it to be, right? So all that I have to do now is do the same thing in this project. So again, same thing in this one, we'll say whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's update it. Amazing. Just let the agent finish on both ends, right? In here, it's pretty much done. So we can actually now move into the autopilot step. People think that my secret is about prompting. It isn't. My secret is that I don't prompt at all. All I do is this. I just paste this prompt in and say, read the tasks, check which group of tasks is next, read the relevant docs, complete the tasks, mark them as done, and tell me what's next. I just solved for the second problem, the human in the loop. Yes, I come in and intervene and test and vibe from time to time, but that's not how I'm building my biggest projects. The way I build my biggest projects is by letting Lovable prompt itself. Read all the documents to get all the context it needs and just proceeds with the build without me. As you can see here, I know the agent is doing that because it just said 28 days of Lovable. So I know it read the instructions, and if it read the instructions, I know it read the tasks, and I know it will continue to do so as long as I can see that it maintained this context. I'm irrelevant at this point, right? I have all the documentation that I need, and I can just let things run on autopilot. Let's do the same thing here, right? In here, I'm just going to say, read the tasks, proceed to work on what's next. Exact same workflow going forward. I'm just letting Lovable do what it does best because I gave it all the context and I made sure that because the way tasks are structured and the way documents are structured, it doesn't have to read everything. It just reads the relevant document, right? That for that particular phase, gets the context, proceeds to execute. That's all I do here. I'm just managing a very powerful tool and testing as soon as it's done building stuff for me, right? Let's wait for a second and hear, okay, as you can see, it's telling me what it completed, which is great. It's telling me how to test it and telling me what the next task is, right? So it built cloud and database. Because it did that, I'm just going to refresh. Sometimes I like to do it to ensure that the code changes have been saved, especially when I do backend stuff, because I want to show you that when I go into the code here and I go to tasks, it actually marked them as completed with these little 2 X's, right? So I did exactly what I wanted it to do. Perfect. It says open the cloud tab and verify all 6 tables will appear. And guess what? They do, right? So I can say the same thing as I did before. Just continue on, right? Beautiful. Same thing here. Let's refresh just for a second to confirm the docs are in, that everything else is in, and that our tasks are being marked as completed, right? PRDs are in, tasks are in. Phase 1 almost completed, phase 2A almost completed. Sometimes, it doesn't complete everything, and this is why this is important, right? It says that the remaining phase 2A tasks are left. That depends on phase B, so it skipped it intentionally. Again, I'm not going to dictate what to do. I'm just going to say do whatever you feel is next, and then I just do this. I test things. I change things, right? I just look through the build. If I don't like something visual, I'm going to change it, and we're going to talk a lot about design in future days. But if you ever wanted to understand why am I able to build so many things in parallel, this is the workflow. I'm just eliminating myself out of the equation and eliminating the ambiguity behind the fact that you need to know how to control where the agent is pulling towards, right? This ends day 10. The building companion app is going to be our companion tomorrow, where I'm going to teach you how to maintain sources of truth. Even this workflow is problematic at bigger scale unless you know how to document backwards too. Because what I've been showing you today is only how to document forward, right? How to document what's coming, not how to document what happened before. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. And I hope you stick around and I hope you enjoyed it. Keep shipping.